New Girl, 2011, cast, then and now 2026, you'll be shocked. For years, Jess Day felt untouchable, the awkward smile, the bright dresses, the emotional honesty that defined an entire era of television. Zooey Deschanel wasn't just the lead of New Girl, she was the show. But here's the part fans rarely talk about. When the cameras stopped rolling, Zooey didn't become bigger, she became quieter. And once you notice that choice, the story changes. Because the New Girl cast didn't grow up the same way. Some stepped back, some disappeared, and one unexpected arrival rewrote everything we thought we knew. Zooey Deschanel as Jess Day. Jess Day wasn't just quirky, she made vulnerability feel safe on television, singing in pajamas, crying without irony, believing people could be good even when they weren't. That sincerity turned Zooey Deschanel into a generational face of early 2010s TV. By 46, Zooey's relationship with fame looks very different. Instead of extending a sitcom persona, she redirected her energy toward music, producing and projects that felt personal rather than loud. Her long-term relationship with Jonathan Scott reflects that same stability, as does co-parenting her 2 children. The shock isn't that Zooey stepped back, it's that she did it without collapsing, rebranding, or apologizing. Jess Day taught a generation how to feel. Zooey Deschanel taught them when to stop performing it. Megan Fox as Reagan. Reagan arrived in New Girl as a disruption, cool, emotionally distant, designed to break Jess's energy. Megan Fox was already a global star by then, but today, in her late 30s, her fame feels radically different. Acting is no longer the center of her career. Public attention has shifted toward her image, her relationships, and the emotional volatility of her personal life. After a high-profile divorce and years of tabloid exposure, Megan has leaned into self-expression, fashion, and media presence more than film. Her transformation is not about decline, it is about a celebrity learning how to exist when the role of Hollywood bombshell stops being the main storyline. Jake Johnson as Nick Miller. Nick Miller lived in chaos. He avoided adulthood like it was a trap. Jake Johnson didn't. At 48, Johnson's career tells a different story than his most famous character. After New Girl, he moved steadily into independent films, screenwriting, and voice acting, with Spider-Man becoming a defining second chapter. His marriage to visual artist Aaron Payne began long before fame arrived, and together they raised twin daughters far from celebrity spectacle. Nick stayed stuck in the loft, emotionally frozen in time. Jake quietly built a life that valued stability over visibility. That contrast is the point. Sometimes the most shocking transformation is choosing to grow up early and never making a show of it. Hannah Simone as Cece. Cece began as the beautiful side character, but slowly became the emotional backbone of the group. Hannah Simone, now in her mid-40s, made a much quieter choice. She married artist and filmmaker Jesse Giddings in 2016, became a mother in 2017, and gradually stepped away from constant screen work. Instead of chasing visibility, she curated it. Hosting, producing, and selective acting replaced the pace of network television. There was no dramatic exit, no public crisis, no reinvention arc. Her shift feels intentional. While Cece once chased the spotlight inside the story, Hannah chose a life where success no longer needed to be seen to feel real. Max Greenfield as Schmidt. Schmidt was built on noise, status anxiety, constant self-promotion, and the fear of being invisible. Max Greenfield went in the opposite direction. After New Girl, he pursued roles that emphasized restraint, emotional depth, and long-term television storytelling rather than punchline-driven comedy. Married since 2008 to Tess Sanchez, he is a father of 2 and openly invested in family life. His public image today feels almost anti-Hollywood, grounded, routine, and deliberately unremarkable. The irony is where the shock lives. Schmidt spent years trying to become an adult. Max Greenfield had already done that, and the camera simply took a while to catch up. Lamorne Morris as Winston. Winston started as the odd one out, unsure of his purpose, often written into the background. Lamorne Morris turned that into momentum. Now, in his early 40s, he expanded into hosting, drama, and voice work, proving range that few expected from a sitcom role. He is a father to a daughter born in 2020, co-parenting privately and keeping relationships largely out of public view. His podcast and interviews reveal a shift in priorities, from career ambition to personal clarity. Winston searched for identity on screen. Lamorne seems to have found his off-screen, not through fame, but through focus. And after the main cast stepped into adulthood, the side characters quietly chose paths no one thought to follow. Nasim Pedrad as Ali. Ali arrived late but grounded the chaos with calm authority. By 44, Nasim Pedrad had already pivoted away from ensemble sitcom energy toward writing, voice work, and creator-driven projects. Never a tabloid figure, her personal life stays intentionally off-radar, with no public marriage or children. The shift wasn't a disappearance, but a narrowing of focus. Ali brought emotional realism to the loft. Nasim carried that same realism into a career built on authorship rather than exposure. June Diane Raphael as Sadie. Sadie represented competence in a world of emotional mess. At 46, June Diane Raphael has leaned fully into that identity off-screen. Married to comedian Paul Scheer and raising 2 children, she built a second career behind the camera through writing, producing, and podcasting. Acting became selective, not central. There was no reinvention arc here. June didn't outgrow sitcoms. She outgrew the need to be in front of them. Rebecca Ballantyne-Reed as Nadia. Nadia functioned as absurd contrast, unpredictable, exaggerated, unforgettable in small doses. Rebecca Ballantyne-Reed, now 48, never chased that energy into mainstream stardom. After New Girl, she stepped away from high-visibility Hollywood work, choosing a quieter life outside the spotlight. Little is publicly known about her relationships or family, by design rather than omission. The transformation is total. Nadia existed to be seen. Rebecca chose a path where being seen was no longer the point. New Girl captured a moment in time when being awkward was endearing, and friendship felt like family. Seeing the cast today isn't about shock. It's about perspective. Which transformation surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching.